Just wake me up, just wake me up, don't let me down. Just give me coffee. Just wake me up, just wake me up, just wake me up, wake me up. Horse is cold, just wake me up, just wake me up, don't let me down. Give me coffee. Just wake me up, just wake me up, just wake me up, wake me up. Horse is cold, just let me be blunt. My speech in the morning, nothing but grunts. With no coffee, that's as dangerous. On a scale from 1 to 10, I rank it that girl from Stranger Things. And if you get what I'm saying, my attitude be mad flagrant like I'm Draymond. But you ain't get the picture, BFP. So I'm gonna keep pushing on you, GNC. It's like, yeah, the first thing on my mind is when that hot coffee gonna seep into the coffee grind. It's like some magic's floating all in the air. Toss some ice cubes in my cup, it's a good day. All I gotta say is that it's starting in a good way. It's time for working and I don't even care. Just wake me up, just wake me up, don't let me down. Just give me coffee. Just wake me up, just wake me up, just wake me up, wake me up. Horse is cold, just wake me up, just wake me up, don't let me down. Give me coffee. Just wake me up, just wake me up, just wake me up, wake me up. Horse is cold, start fresh, that's how it's gotta be. Everything starts back with your coffee beans. If it's cold brew, then it's gotta be coarse. Don't get the cart ahead of the horse, start learning the course. But of course you can disregard, and don't at me if it gets too hard. When it's my time to drink, man, it's always on hand. Drink from a cup or a bottle, even a can. You never know when you're craving no hit. It could be in the bathroom while you're taking a Ric Flair, I'll say he ain't got nothing on it. When that coffee hits my lips, it's a seance. Feeling real super with the cape on. Anything I'll take on. This cup of coffee, yeah, boy, this is the shit. Just wake me up, just wake me up, don't let me down. Just give me coffee. Just wake me up, just wake me up, just wake me up, wake me up. Horse is cold, just wake me up, just wake me up, don't let me down. Give me coffee. Just wake me up, just wake me up, just wake me up, wake me up. Horse is cold, verse, so I guess that's where I talk about how we might be addicted in a roundabout kind of way, or how you say, a dependency that's in my life, and I'm proud to say it's filling me with way more energy than I'll ever need, keeping me up for things I thought I'd never see. Time's gonna kill us all one day, whether old age, illness, or from listening to Coldplay. F that noise, while love, drink all the coffee, chug.
Good morning, all of you beautiful nerds from around the world, and welcome to the Morning's Dream here on the Den of Nerds Live, the very best way to start your nerdy day. On today's show, bunch of good news for DC fans. All is well in the universe for DC fans, except not at all. HBO Max cycling out much of its DC content starting July 1st. What the hell is happening? What does it mean? What are they thinking? We're going to break that down. We're going to get into that. Plus, it's new comic book day. Trinity from 2nd Street Marvel is joining the stream. He's going to recommend some dope comics for you this week. And we're also going to talk about one of the craziest stories to come out of the comic book industry in a long time. DC Comics has cut ties with Diamond Distribution. What does it mean? What are the ins and outs of that? Oh, baby. We're going to get into all of it. We're going to break it all down. Let's say what's up to everybody. Good morning to all of you. Dan the Man, first man in. Wolfpack Personal Training is here. Brian O'Connor, XR Coon, Wu-Tang Wells, Tara's here. Jason's here. Mr. Deeds is here. Lavis is here. Mike Porter Ryan, John, Bill M, Steve Denton, Sly's in the building. Spider-Man Show, Fanjecture, Freeman, David Nations, Trevin, Strongman Dan, Jason Strope. What's up, everybody? Andrew Gates is in here, too. Danny, Sam Shills, bunch of beautiful people in here. Oh, Star Wars Santa's in the building. Whoa! Star Wars Santa's in the building. I want to pause the music for just a second and say I had a ton of different meetings yesterday, and Star Wars Santa came up in one of the meetings, and it was a really cool moment. Not enough people know about Star Wars Santa. I think we should have Star Wars Santa on the morning stream Friday. I know he wants to debate me, about a bunch of Star Wars things. He wants to come at me for my takes. I think we should have Star Wars Santa on the morning stream this Friday. What do you think, Santa? And what do you think, chat? Let me know. It was pretty cool, man. It was pretty cool. I got to bring says I'm ready. Let's do it. Absolutely. Well, I got to do a bunch of research, man. I got to make sure that I can actually back up all this stuff I say. It's kind of concerning. Rolling up. God bless you, man. Smoke them if you got them. We should always listen to Santa. Yeah, man. Santa's an important voice that needs elevated. Ooh, that when the Taylor Lane hits your lips. So, just right off the bat, I did see Adam's stream. I was in there. I was watching Adam's take. You know what else? I just want to put this out as well. I want to know what you guys think about this. I'd actually like to have Adam on the show tomorrow, which is not actually unusual. Adam usually does a Thursday spot. But I'd like to have Adam on the show. And Adam, let's just do it, man. Let's just debate the Batman. Let's debate the Batman. Am I wrong? Am I being too hard on the Batman? Well, maybe we should have Adam on and just straight up debate that fact. I want to know what you guys think about that as well. A lot of DC stuff. A lot of DC stuff. All right, let's get into let's get right into this. Let us get right into this really ridiculous news, and then we'll bring Trinity on, and we will talk about this. Okay? It's the craziest news of the day. Yo, this news is crazy. Oh, yes, indeed. DC movies will cycle on and off HBO Max. Crazy. This literally just happened last night. A lot of different people talking about this, and it's very interesting over here. I'm on DC Mythic, which is another site run by Jeremy Conrad, friend of the channel, Jeremy Conrad. And I'm going to read right from this article a little bit. It's just a quick sort of summary, and then we'll get into this. Now, I know Adam talked about this this morning, so many of you that were there, you've already talked about it. By the way, definitely recommend checking out Adam's morning streams or his morning movie brews at 9 a.m. I think those are really cool. I like to put it on sort of as I'm preparing for this show, okay? So check this out. Here we go. DC fans who were unhappy with the news that most of their live-action DC films will be removed from the service next month might be happy to know that they'll eventually return, although they'll probably leave again. A rep from HBO Max said last night that after these movies are removed, different ones will be added in July, and then another selection added in August. And the ones removed will cycle back on at some point in the future. Then he's got a tweet up here. Unfortunately, Streamlabs is being Streamlabs, and it's not showing you guys this, but this is from a man named Brandon Katz, who is an he's reporting from an HBO rep that said, we have a collection of DC films that will rotate on the platform. We have a new batch coming in July, and then another batch coming in August, and I have just confirmed that the batch that is on right now will be returning. It wouldn't be surprising if this is back to Jeremy's article. It wouldn't be surprising if the ones being added soon are the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, as the 90s Batman films are being removed on July 1st. But this news will probably give people pause about subscribing to HBO Max. They're obviously treating the service like HBO or Netflix, where movies cycle on and off every month. This is very different than the archival model that Disney Plus uses, where all of the Marvel MCU films are on the service and they don't cycle off. Okay? Now, I'm going to click actually to this other article here that sort of talks about the movies that will be removed. I think the most important ones, Adam went over a ton of different ones that I do actually agree are not that popular. But Batman v Superman, Wonder Woman, Justice League, and Suicide Squad are being removed. Those are big, popular DCEU movies. So, I think the first question that I just really want to know from you guys. How do you feel about this? Like, let's just say this, positive or negative? Are you positive on this? Are you negative on this? And I know there's nuance there. I know that you can have like an opinion between, but just at a baseline level here, are you positive on this or are you negative on this? I want to know from the chat. In the Sony Spider-Man MCU films, are they coming to Disney Plus? I don't know, actually. Star Wars Santa says negative. That's the first time I've ever heard Star Wars Santa being negative about anything, by the way. HBO, Warner Brothers HBO still has a foot set in old school model. That's interesting. As soon as they make something worth watching twice, I'll give a crap what service it's on. Ooh! Yikes! Yikes. The Raimi films are on Hulu. Against this. Don't care. Don't care. Won't get it anyways. Okay, that's fair. Not a fan of this. Baseline, I'm fine with it. There's only a few small movies I care about. Blah, 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 blah. It seems they duped people, which is negative. Wow, we're actually probably going to agree on that point. DC has their own streaming service, so I could understand why they wouldn't want them on another streaming service for long. I see some negatives. Man of Steel isn't even on HBO Max, so it honestly doesn't matter. That's really interesting. I actually didn't know that. But I own Man of Steel, so when I watched it recently, I watched it on Xbox through their films. It was a matter of time before they rotate out movies. DC has its own platform to put those properties on. I am positive. Studio Ghibli is better content. I agree with that. Al Schuler coming in hot. What in the hell is DC doing? Well, you know what? Let's try to get Trinity on the line, man. Let's try to bring in... oh, and good morning. Absolutely, good morning to you, too. Let's bring in the man himself. Let's try to get Trinity on the line. We're going through Discord today because I'm done with StreamYard officially after the community stream Monday night. And that thing screwing up, like, oh, man. Let's see. Let's see if we'll get Trinity on here in just a second, I'm sure. I can start in by sort of giving my take on this as we wait for Trinity to connect here. So I have a lot of thoughts. I have mixed opinions about this, but here's the baseline. The baseline is this. This is super negative. This is super negative for HBO Max. This is super negative for DC. And I think the biggest reason is just because of the headlines that it will create. You know, the narrative with DC over the past couple of years, which, you know, just being real, I've played some part in perpetuating or creating, I guess. I don't know. Is that they're really disorganized. They don't have a plan, and they're really focused on just getting money, getting revenue, and they're not really focused on what a proper relationship between a company like this and their fans should be, right? So that's sort of the narrative. I mean, I just did that video last night where I'm sort of ranting about DC again. The idea of the Joker in the Batman movie, while not really even news or earth-shattering in any way, it sort of brings up all of this old bad blood between DC and their fans. So I ranted yesterday, and the biggest problem with DC and Warner Brothers is that there's no clear-cut plan and there's no proper communication between that company and its customers and potential customers. This feels underhanded. It doesn't necessarily matter if it is underhanded or not. It feels underhanded. I think the perception will be that this is underhanded. And unless they come out, like, here's another thing. Here's why this feels underhanded ultimately. Because where did we hear, how did we find out about this, right? Think about it. How did we find out about this? Where's this narrative coming from? It is not coming from DC. It is not coming from Warner Brothers. It is not coming from AT&T. This was discovered by some fans, and then journalists, junkets, YouTube channels, bloggers, all these people reached out and tried to figure out what was going on. So by that is how we found out. That's a bad look, dude. Like, if that is the thing, if it's legitimate, if you're on this wheel cycle, if you're going to be rotating stuff out, that's totally cool. Maybe explain that. Maybe come out and make that known to your customers, especially at a time when you're trying to do that. Okay, Trinity, I think I got you in here. Give me just a minute here. Yeah, I definitely hear you. I don't see you just yet, but we'll give Discord just a minute to catch up here. But let's see here. Pause this music, Chet, and then Trinity, give me a little audio. Let's see if it's working for the people.
Yeah, working?
I think so. Guys, can you hear Trinity?
Are we there yet?
Are we there yet? I'll turn this car around. So as I wait for your video to come in, and honestly, like, even if it doesn't come in, it's all good. I just want to have the conversation. But let me ask you, man, what are your baseline thoughts about this thing with HBO Max, the DC content? Where are you at with this, bro?
I'm okay. I don't know. Like, I own most of these movies in the first place. When it comes to a lot of this stuff, I get how people would be upset because they were probably, maybe they bought or planned on getting this stuff. I mean, it does just seem like they use it as a hook just to try to get people onto their service.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, and I think the point that I was sort of just making before we brought you in was like, I think the main reason that this is a bad move is because the perception, like, they should be by now be fully aware of what their reputation is, and like how broken the relationship is between the fan base and DC and Warner Brothers. So if I was like a PR person looking at this situation, I'd be like, we gotta be very forward about this. And by the way, if they have a schedule for what's going to be rotating in, why wouldn't you post that just in general? Because I feel like even just looking at HBO Max right now, there's a lot of gaps in the content. So even as a value proposition, I don't understand why at the beginning of all of this, or as they're pushing it, they wouldn't be like, oh, and in July, here comes all the Donner Superman. You know what I mean? And then like in August, we're going to bring all these animated films in and stuff like that, right? So
right.
That to me is the biggest problem. It's that same old song and dance that they're doing, and it's, for me, it's just kind of depressing to see it go down. It's almost not as big of a deal, the actual content leaving. It's more like, oh, here we go again with sort of this underhanded, kind of approach to the relationship between their fans. I don't know if you agree or not. I mean, like, obviously you don't have to, but that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like all they seem to do is want to trip over their own feet. I think the most important thing, especially these days that we're seeing more and more, is you got to do stuff for the fans. We're the ones that provide stuff. I mean, we're the ones that support the movies, these streaming services, all this stuff. I mean, and I hate to say that we should have too much power over a lot of stuff too.
Right.
It's just, when it comes to thinking about how they want to market stuff and do these things, they got to think about the fans, the consumer first. I mean, obviously they're trying to make money. It's a business, but yeah, I'm glad I'm not in their position, but yeah. I think it would be fairly easy.
Yeah. No, I think we're on the same page there, where it's like I don't envy the position that they're in, and they're obviously like, look, they did a good thing with the Snyder Cut. I'm on record with that. I really think it's a good thing. I think it's positive. But even that, the messaging, like, I think they really need to get clear with their messaging. They're leaving they're leaving way too much room up for interpretation, and they're still living sort of in the shadow of all of these bad decisions and all the things that came out, and it's a weird time for them. Like, the more, dude, have you been watching how like even the director of Shazam is now coming out and showing like pages of script and changes and talking about studio interference? Like this is they got to be careful, dude. Like AT&T probably just opened up a whole can of worms for them, and all of this dirty laundry is now coming out from DC and from that regime. But like they're trying to still play nice and patty cake this thing, and it's like that is not going to work. They need to say, here's the people that were responsible for that. They are not involved, and we're moving forward. But until they do that, dude, like I like Shazam, and I can't tell because even with the Kathy Ann thing, it's like I really can't tell, like, was that studio interference in a really, really bad way, or was that just normal everyday Hollywood stuff? I mean, producers treat movies like their products. Directors treat movies like their art. The relationship between a producer and a director that's just a thing. It's always been a thing. Like that's the deal there. So I'm like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it seems to be something they just seem to have problems with over at Warner Brothers and DC. Is just, it seems like they're constantly tripping over their feet in trying to stay ahead or just please the consumer. And especially like you're saying with like the directors, the producers. I mean, look at all the stuff just all the things that happen over at Marvel Studios with Kevin Feige between directors and things like that. I'm sure there's a whole lot more that we've never even heard about on the Marvel Studios side. So it's all very interesting. It's a very interesting game.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I would like, if there's dirty, like I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that if there's dirty laundry from DC, and the thing is, I think the big difference with DC to Marvel is that, with Feige, they sort of, first of all, started slow. They built phase one, and as the success happened, he was granted more sort of power and control. And on top of that, like when I look at someone like Feige, I actually don't think of him as a suit, right? So it's a kind of a weird distinction because I'm okay with that man coming in and interfering. Like let's just call it what it is, interfering. Oh, here we got a super
How
chat
many
coming in from
services
Santa.
would you
Hang
have
on
to
one
pay for
second.
to consume all of DC's content, and is it even possible to watch all of their stuff online?
That's a great question, Santa. That's a great question, and I appreciate the support. Give me 1 second to finish my point, and then we'll get into that, okay? But, yeah, like, I make a distinction between the interference that Kevin Feige has made and the interference that someone like Kevin Tsuchihara, Jeff Johns, Diane Nelson, John Berg, what those people did. And maybe I'm not even 100% in the right there, but that's my feelings about it. But I'll tell you this: there's probably a whole closet full of dirty laundry going on over at Marvel, and there's an opportunity for sure, right? And there's an opportunity here for some of that stuff to be coming out. But you ain't hearing really anything from these MCU directors. Everybody's being pretty like they're holding ranks. You know what I mean? What do you think? What do you think about that?
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, I mean, we know that Marvel Studios obviously a part of Disney and how they like to keep such a tight lockdown on everything, like NDAs and all that stuff. They probably put a certain amount on people when they sign up for one of their movies and say like, hey, if this goes on, this goes on. Like, it's like, we get it. You can say this and that, but like pretty much, I'm sure they do a lot of that kinds of stuff where they got to keep quiet on stuff. And just what we have seen is really, I think, to just kind of implicate the fact that there's got to be more going on behind the scenes over at Marvel Studios. They're just obviously better about keeping a lot of things under wraps as much as possible. I mean, everything that they have going on their production side, think about the leaks that we do get and everything that we don't get. And I think this is certainly a good time for, if there was any of that going on, if DC had a way, or even Warner Brothers, to get some of that out to kind of maybe take the light off of them, because they they can't even shine the light on themselves in a good way. It doesn't seem like.
Yeah, it's really it's a really interesting, crazy thing, and even something like Scott Derrickson, I was so impressed. Like, I really felt like that was a power move by Feige, and yet Scott Derrickson was so humble, respectful, understanding of the whole situation. And you know what? Maybe maybe we're getting it wrong. Like, maybe like once the skeletons come out, you'll just see that like Feige is actually the nicest like dude ever, and he's really respectful and trying to help people, but he's just like a hard no on a lot of stuff, right? Well, I don't know if we really know, but it honestly almost doesn't even matter what the truth is. It matters what the perception is, right? Like, that's the whole PR game.
Right.
So the perception over there is that he runs a tight ship. The perception over there is that he makes an incredible product. The perception over there is that he's done, he's really, I don't want to say necessarily placated, but he's done a lot for all of the different groups of fans, and all of their different opinions, feelings, and desires. So he's done an incredible job building his own brand and the brand of the MCU sort of right along with it. So it almost doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But let's go to Star Wars Santa's question here. I think this is a really interesting question. How many services would you have to pay for to consume all of DC's content? And is it even possible to watch all of their stuff online? What do you think, Star Wars Santa? Like, what do you think? Or sorry, Trinity, what do you think? Does Star Wars Santa have a point here? Like, is there even a way to do all of that?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, other than the movies, I don't really consume a whole lot of their content, but I would think at some point you want to nail that all down into one place. As we can see, even Marvel has started to do that, bring all their kind of stuff in together one place. But yeah, and that's the thing with like the streaming wars is, what are you going to pick and choose, and what are you going to choose it for? And a lot of these things, like these DCs and these Marvel properties, I mean, absolutely, it's going to be stuff that people want to go after, and spreading it apart between other things is a little bit outrageous, because we know with all these streaming platforms, it's getting to the point where you're just about back at what your cable or direct TV bill was before all this started going on.
Yeah, I know, right? And by the way, there's many people that would love that number to get back up there too. No, I think it's a good point. I think it's a fair point that Santa brings up. Again, I think it's actually in some weird way, it's very on brand for DC, right? Like, everything's all over the place and you can't figure it out. That's literally their brand. So no, I appreciate that. And another thing, I just want to point this out before we get into the comic book stuff, because I'm dying to talk to you about this. But this is funny because even Disney Plus and Marvel, they have similar issues. It's not that they don't have, it's not as widely reported, but I mean, like, their distribution stuff with Hulk. You know what I mean? There's technically there are X-Men movies on HBO Max right now that Disney doesn't have access to, right? So there's all these loose ends with their licensing, right? But at the end of the day, they did a great job with Disney Plus, in a sense, with sort of cataloging and really getting that stuff in there, and just putting it in there, and sort of keeping it as that almost access to the Disney vault, which I think is a great selling point considering the content that they have. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, again, it almost doesn't matter what the reality is. It matters what the perception is. Like, they have similar problems, but DC doesn't communicate or create a narrative that gets their customer base all on the same page, that fully explains where everything is going. And I think that's ultimately their failure. So look, this HBO Max thing, like, it might not be that big of a deal. Like, I was watching Adam's take and I thought, that's interesting. You know what I mean? I get what he's saying, but ultimately it's still bad. Like, I don't know how you can paint this in a positive light.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But let's get into some comic book talk, my friend. So I'll be completely real with you. I didn't I looked at the new comics today. I looked at it. There wasn't a lot for me on there, to be just being honest. Like, there wasn't a lot that, like, series that I was caught up on, things that I was interested in. But I want to know, this week in comics, what are you recommending to the people? What's some of the favorite stuff that you checked out?
Well, I'll be honest with you. You're right. It seems like this was kind of a like for me on as far as Marvel and DC are concerned on the books this week. I only actually pulled one Marvel book. Everything else is all indies, and believe me, I've still got a good stack of books
Nice.
here this week. But I do still always review like the Dawn of X books, the Jonathan Hickman stuff, New Mutants, Excalibur just came out today, and I've got to say that. I haven't really enjoyed both of these series. New Mutants has been okay. Excalibur, though, this issue number 10, for what's been going on, I gotta say, issue number 10 of Excalibur is actually pretty good. It's just the only thing I fear is that this issue is going to be great, and then I'm going to get to the next issue, and it's going to be kind of a letdown. You know,
Sure.
it's like it's a high, and this is kind of a
Yeah.
all right, and it seems like it's kind of been going that way. But another one that I really like since I've started getting more into comic books and indie comic books specifically,
Yeah.
I've gotten into a lot more horror books. And this one just came out. I've been waiting for this. I think issue 3 came out in like November. That's Mountainhead. This is issue number 4 of Mountainhead.
I
And
like
this
that
is
art.
like, yeah, I was gonna say the art inside is actually really crazy. Some of the stuff going on in this book is really unique. You can I'll show you a little bit more of that art there.
Ooh, yeah.
But yeah, this book. I'll be honest with you. When I first read issue number 1, I wasn't sure about the art. But then as we got into issue number 2 and issue number 3, like it started taking off. Like it's this crazy horror story about this kid who was abducted by this guy, and he basically raised him, and they were doing breaking and entering into people's houses and just robbing them, and that's pretty much what they did. And well, it turns out that the man was crazy, and he had been raising him for some years, and so he kind of got this kind of schizophrenia into his son here, which ends up actually being a good thing in a sort of way as the story is developed here. But they get caught by the cops. The kid ends up going back to his real family, and that's when things start to unfold. He goes back to his real family in this small town, and it turns out they're all like monsters. Like this monster is taking over the town, and it has something to do with like the trees and the mountains. It's like this issue number 4 got so bananas. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my god, dude! Like, there's only one issue left on this series, I think, and I don't even want it to end. It's just
That's
great.
awesome. That's great. Who's the publisher?
It's on, and that's the sad thing is it's on IDW Comics, which IDW Comics they've had a number of issues over, well, just I think I'm not sure how long, these past couple of years for sure, because
Yeah.
they do like a lot of properties that are just franchise properties.
Yeah, they get like a lot of
And they've
licenses,
kind of been
right?
struggling.
Yeah, and then because I know that they've done some things where they'll even take like the best of a like say Spider-Man or whatever, and they'll do a collection and sort of create a product based on a ton of Marvel stuff, and then present it as like a spider, like the history of Spider-Man in comics or whatever, and then publish it through IDW. And it's weird
Right.
stuff like that. So, and don't they do like the stuff with like Zelda? They've done like some books like that, I believe. But no, that sounds
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That I'm gonna have to check that out. Look, I'm not a horror fan. I think like at this point people probably know that. But at one place
Yeah,
where
we
I can
found that out yesterday.
yeah, I can't do it. But one place I can handle horror is in the comic books because it's pretty easy to like look away from the page. You know what I mean? If I get too scared.
Yeah, and I think the one thing I've found that I like about the horror in comic books is that it's more visual.
Yeah.
Where
Psychological
like, in a movie,
too.
Yeah, like because like in a movie, you know what? Like in horror movies these days, what do? They go for cheesy, cheap jump scares.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm not into that. I'm not into like the scary movies. Like I want something gory and like stuff like that, creatures. And this definitely fits that. Like I said, it goes off the rails crazy here in this book, and I just love it. I really do enjoy Mountainhead. It's been a long time coming.
Nice. That's cool. Well, there you have it, folks. Those are your recommendations for the week. I just speaking on Excalibur, I think I picked up, I don't know, I think I read like the first couple of issues because the whole idea, I believe, is that they are pirates, right? Like they're sort of responsible for bringing in mutant refugees and some of the drugs coming back, or is that the wrong book?
That's Marauders. That's actually
Oh,
Marauders.
okay, Marauders.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well then maybe
Yeah.
I haven't read any of the new Excalibur actually. I was digging into Marauders. I think I got to like issue 5 and then I fell off, but
Yeah, Marauders is actually one of my favorites. I'd say it's probably my second favorite out of all of the Dawn of X books that have been coming out. My first favorite is X Force,
yeah,
which I
X-Force
think
has
comes
been
out
dope.
maybe next week or the week after. That one is X Force is absolutely great because it's got all the X stuff in there, the mutants, the Krakoa, and it's kind of got these body horror elements that are going along with it too, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
And then Excalibur has been dealing more with like Otherworld and Apocalypse, as the team has been trying to get a gateway from Otherworld to Krakoa. Some of the Krakoan gateways, they have one, but it's just a lot of complicated things going on.
Okay, cool. No, that sounds dope. And is that going to lead into 10 Swords or whatever with Excalibur? Or no?
I'm guessing that there's going to be more to do with that because we can see like some of the weapons, especially in this issue with Captain Britain, have some really interesting things happen in this issue of Excalibur. I'm not normally excited when I read Excalibur or anything. It's kind of like, all right. But like I said, this issue number 10, like it really picked it up, and I was like, oh dang, like okay, like this is kind of what I want a little bit more of out of this story. As we see that Jamie Braddock has been resurrected, and he is now in charge of Avalon there in Otherworld. And I don't know a whole lot of all these mutants' powers, but obviously he can create and warp reality.
Yeah.
And something that he does in this book is really freaking great.
Sweet, dude. No, that's cool. I definitely want to. I got to catch up. I'm still behind on a lot of these series, but no, that's good stuff. So let's shift into this whole craziness when it comes to DC and Diamond distribution. And I want to set the table here because I know we have a lot of sort of casual comic book fans or even just fans of like the movies that aren't really into comics. So I feel like I need to sort of explain what Diamond is. And I think the best way I can explain it is they are a literal and complete monopoly on the distribution of comic books to comic book shops around the country. We've talked about this before, but essentially the comic book industry itself is a really weird industry because the publishers are creating all of this stuff and then kind of selling it to the shops through Diamond. Okay, and it's the only game in town. It is the only distributor. And Diamond, they put out the previews books, and essentially, like, look, just as an example, I was talking to, it was a couple of weeks back now. I was talking to a friend in the comic book industry, and I essentially was asking him about the reputation of certain publishers and things that were going on. And literally, he told me verbatim, if a comic book publisher is not in Diamond, they might as well not exist. Like, in the ecosystem, they're nobody. They might as well not exist. Now, what happened essentially with the economic shutdown was Diamond as a company was not able to perform its duties. It was not able to function the way that it had previously. And what this created was sort of a weird situation where the publishers actually had some books ready to go. They were ready to come out to shops. The shops were ready to get the books from the publishers, but Diamond was not functioning. And so therefore, the comic book industry completely shut down because, I'm not exaggerating, that is a complete and total monopoly of comic book distribution. So am I doing okay so far, Trinity? Do you agree so far?
For the most part. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So what happened last week was that DC Comics decided to sever ties with Diamond Distribution. They're going through a number of different things right now. They're going to be distributing through, let's see here, their own kind of distribution. I've got a quote here. Let's see here.
Lunar and UCS.
Yes, Lunar and UCS. And, I think the honest to God truth here is they're still kind of scrambling to figure this out. But this was a a monumental move that split a lot of the hardcore comic book followers and fans, because Diamond has also done some really positive things for certain retailers, including even lending them money to stay afloat in these sort of trying times, even before, the economic shutdown. So my question for you, Trinity, is at a baseline level here, I mean, how do you feel about this, and how do you think it's going to affect comic books moving forward?
My feelings are like, I'm just on the consumer side of it. So my feelings are, I think it's a good thing because it creates a competition, and with the distribution of these comic books, I think that's definitely a good thing, because as we can see, there obviously needs to be something a little bit more there. And I think one of the things that a lot of people think about when it comes to those kinds of things, competition, especially something that I always think about, except for like if I'm maybe in an actual race situation, but I always think like when it comes to competition, I'm in competition with you, not against you.
Sure.
So we can coexist and be going after the same people. We know that DC, like a lot of people that read DC, read just DC. They read other books as well, for a lot of us. But I think altogether it's a good thing, because they got to do something to figure out a way to get books into consumers' hands if something should happen. But I think them kind of just completely severing ties with Diamond altogether could be a bad thing, because what if Lunar UCS decides, like, all of a sudden they have a failure and they can't deliver books, and then DC has already went through and burned that bridge, and maybe Diamond at that point is like, hey buddy, you weren't there for us. You kind of told us to buzz off, and now we're telling you to.
Yeah.
Which I don't think that I don't know that there's been any bad blood that bad yet, but I think it's something that could certainly happen. But I do think that DC was obviously disappointed in the distribution and wanting to get product into customers' hands, which I see nothing wrong with. And they went through and are trying to find a model to continue to do that for their customers. I think who it's worse for is the comic shops,
Yeah.
in having to pay, maybe different shipping costs, get different shipments in and things like that. So for consumer, it's a good thing. For the shops, I would say it's maybe a little bit more iffy, kind of depending on the shop.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. It's tough for shops, right? Look, it's tough for everybody right now. Like, the economy is literally a three-legged table right now, and who knows how stable this thing actually is, right? There's a lot of things in flux right now, a lot of questions. Movie theaters are technically opening back up, but in LA and New York, maybe they're not opening back up, right? So, like, everybody's just trying to play wait and see and understand what's going on. I think
Right.
the honest to God truth is the comic book industry, and like, look, we've been arguing, not arguing, but like we've been discussing the comic book industry for what, like 5-6 weeks at this point. Like, I've been pretty vocal about some of the things I think are pretty messed up in the comic book industry, and a lot of it's just old school thinking. Now, the monopoly that Diamond had, one of the things that really sort of put them in the position they were in is just complacency, like just simply complacency. And I see complacency from Diamond. I see complacency from a lot of retailers. I see complacency from the publishers, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, I get that this might be tricky for shops, but if I was DC, and I don't know how DC is exactly handling this, but if I was DC, I'd be on the phone with these shops daily. I'd be like, how can we help? What can we do? We want to make this smooth. We're trying to help you. We want this to be better. All of these different things. I think it's maybe too early to see how that relationship is actually going on. But I want to read now a couple of comments. I want to read comments from Diane Nelson about this situation, former president of DC. And then maybe we can talk about her comments here. Okay, so this is her comments that have sort of interesting takes about the situation. She says here, I'm afraid I've not been privy to this recent decision. I can say purely as a private individual that Diamond has, for a long time, been unwilling or unable to modernize and support and grow the biz as needed for a healthy direct channel, and may not even be solvent. Sorry. It would be imprudent for any publisher to not have a distribution contingency plan. I am disappointed by the communications rollout if the decision, as it seems from my admitted limited POV, not nearly robust enough and not have offered retailers sufficient notice and explanation as to what I'm sure is reasonable and probably even advantageous for them. It's never good for any company to have a monopoly on a business, and Diamond has for too long. I'm optimistic DC will help retailers understand how to navigate the transition, and I'd almost guarantee that there's no way DC or Warner Brothers have a financial stake in these distributors. So I mean, look, she's kind of echoing a lot of what we are saying. I want to know what you think, man. I want to know what you think. What do you think about her comments specifically here?
I mean, it sounds like there's just a whole lot going on here. I won't confess to know anything about a lot of this stuff. Just mostly knowing from the consumer side, but it seems like some decisions are just kind of being made on the fly, which obviously they kind of had to be, considering the situation of everything going on with everything. I mean, the plain and simple fact is these are companies and they need to make money. They need to be able to get product into their consumers' hands. No, really through any means necessary.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. It just seems like this whole thing just kind of snowballed and blew up really quick, and I think that's why everybody seems to be having all the reactions to it. And it seems like that's something with DC, and we even see that even in their movie line and with Warner Brothers and everything, is they're always just reactionary and they're just constantly on the move, just trying to keep pace. Even if they stumble and fall, they're just trying to do something.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I agree. It's funny because this story has almost gotten more traction and more attention than all of the other bullcrap that's been going on for years and years and years, right? So it's like this seems to be like this pinnacle thing, and there's a lot of people like very anti-DC in this situation. Was the decision made quickly? Yeah. But dude, in business, you got to move fast, especially in times of transition. Like things are changing very quickly. So yeah, you got to move fast. Again, what's DC's biggest problem? The lack of clear communication and the lack of a plan. So if they made this decision without an actual plan and didn't fully communicate it to the distributors and to the fans, what's new? You know what I mean? Like, tell me what's new. And yeah, it's bad. But they can change that. They can get in front of this thing and they can really start communicating. Like, you know, look, we've been talking about this. It's like, I don't know how much these publishers actually give a shit about these retailers. I really don't. It would be nice if we saw something from them that ran counter to that and sort of made you think, yeah, they do care. They care, and they're working with these distributors. And so, you know, hey, look, if anybody's out there watching this from DC or just in general, if you're a retailer or something like that, if I was a retailer, I'd be demanding that DC communicate with me, work with me, help me figure this out. And if I was somebody at DC, I'd be pretty hell-bent on making that happen. You know what I mean? And reaching out and trying to fix this problem. But
yeah, and I don't see why they wouldn't, because it seems like the one thing they're really wanting to do right now across the board is satisfy their customers.
Right.
And while we are their customers, the consumers, the shops are still their customer.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely, 100% agree with that. Is there? You're streaming today?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got some stuff ready to go.
Gotcha. Probably let you go in like 5 minutes here. I know you got to prepare and get ready for that. But let's shift into Q&A, guys. I want to shift into Q&A. If you have any questions for Trinity before he leaves or gets out of here, let's do that. And yeah, we'll just run Q&A for like the next 15 to 20 minutes. I wonder how many people, like, do you think that people in chat like even understood what we were talking about? I tried to frame it in a way that I think they could get down.
I think a lot of them will probably understand just for the mere fact of they see what's going on with the HBO Max thing,
Yeah.
the Snyder Cut thing, just everything kind of going on. I think it's something that certainly a lot of people could definitely understand, especially with everything that's been happening in the wake of the current situation in the world.
I know, right? How stupid is it that we have to that we have to like come up with all these stupid words for all this stuff, and like I don't want to I'm not going to go there, but like there's a thing that happened yesterday or maybe it was 2 days ago with the World Health Organization, and dude, I almost fucking lost my mind. I almost just lost my mind. What is it? Which one is it? If you don't know, don't say anything. You know what I mean? If you don't know, don't say anything. Anyway.
Right.
Anyway. Yeah, hey, whoa, Jason brings up a good point, guys. Can we get some more likes on this stream? You're gonna make Trinity feel bad and not want to come back if the like buttons are not smizzashed. Godfather comes in, just drop in by to talk shit about Josh's mastery of written language. You'll no say. What are you talking about? I don't know. I don't know what you I don't know what you mean, dude. Why did I misspell the title or something? I don't know, guys. I can't spell. What do you want from me?
Oh man, that's funny.
Let's see here. Lavis says WB and DC need to focus on their dark labels. They need to keep with the villain video title. Oh God, what does it say? I don't even want to look. The title? Oh jeez. Here we go, Trinity. Now I got to check it out. HBO Max.
Oh yeah, yeah, I see it.
Yeah. Is it losses? Losses? Yeah.
Yeah, losses instead of. Those are the little things I don't pick up on either, man.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've read the whole thing. Everybody's like pointing it out to me. I still didn't realize. So, look, it is what it is.
If it ain't one thing, it's another.
Yeah. So what do you think about Lavis's point there? Go back to, he's kind of talking about like going back to dark content, and sort of making that. I think what he's really saying is like a branding distinction between Marvel and DC.
I mean, I think it's a good idea. I mean, the dark kind of angle has been their thing, but sometimes I kind of wonder, like, is what we've seen really that dark, or is it just like the kind of cinematics and things, the tricks that Zach uses in his movies?
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not really for sure how dark they actually are. I think it's just that they're willing to push the envelope just a little bit more in their movies. I think one thing they definitely need to do with the DC stuff is not try to do what Marvel's doing, but also not try to not do what they're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just let it happen,
Yeah, I'm with you,
I
man.
think sometimes you get kind of stuck in that where like, okay, we're going to try to not do what they want to do. And then you get to a point where you're trying to avoid everything that they're kind of doing. It's like you're making an effort to not do something, which almost feels like you're making an effort to do it on purpose.
Yeah, it's so funny. The one thing they're definitely not doing that Marvel is doing is succeeding. Oh shit! Yeah. No, I mean, but it's kind of true though. Let's be real.
Yeah, well, just kind of like you were saying, like with Shazam, I thought Shazam was a pretty good movie. But then, like you look at Aquaman, I own it. I love the movie. But really, when I sat there and I watched Aquaman, I remember even at the theater kind of being giddy with excitement and laughing at some of the stuff that happens. But some of that had to do with everything about how I'm watching it. I'm like, this reminds me of like an MCU movie.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
The whole cheesy thing when he gets on the submarine, he flips his hair up and he's like, permission to come aboard, and then he grabs that door off of that thing there and he uses it like it's Cap shield.
I know, right?
The whole montage scene with Black Manta, I'm sitting there like, is this Tony Stark? What?
Yep.
Is this the evil Tony Stark? What am I watching here?
Yeah.
And it's not bad. It's just like when I seen it, I was sitting there kind of like, it feels like it's kind of that,
Yeah. I look, I agree. Like, I love Aquaman, dude. Like, I better watch it quick before they fucking. No, I think that one's actually staying. But yeah, I like Aquaman. But you're right, it is super MCU, bro. Like, they just, like, that's the thing that's so frustrating is, they did that tonal shift, they did that big shift, and like it's really not. I really don't think it's that deep. Like it's all spinning out of the Nolan era, right? They had
Right.
such success with that, and it was such it was really good for them in a lot of ways, and so it just spun out of the Nolan thing. I mean, that's why even at if you watch the video, I did that Jeff Johns video last Friday, which wasn't initially a great video for us as far as views, but it is picking up. Like people are spreading that thing around. I really recommend people check that out. It's a good. I don't know. I wouldn't call it necessarily a hit piece on Johns, but it's like this is what's what. But in that video, we sort of talk about how even on Man of Steel, like Diane Nelson and Jeff Johns were like against a lot of the things that Zack did, especially in that third act, Superman killing, the destruction of Metropolis. They were against that. But the leverage was in Zack's court at that point because he had the backing of Nolan, he had the backing of Goyer, he had the backing of a lot of people, and they were leaning on the success of the Dark Knight trilogy. So it's really not as deep as I think people think. It was just like they thought that tonally was where they wanted to live, and then they started to just be reactive instead of like see that plan through. Now, like Zack's plan and what people said was that he's going to take us from those versions of the characters, his darker, grittier versions, to the Boy Scout, to the comic book version. That's awesome, but it never happened. What happened was Jeff came in after BVS and started hacking off the limbs of things that he didn't like and replacing it with plastic parts that looked really shiny.
Right.
And that's not how you do it. Like either way, like that's the thing that's frustrating to me is like I am actually not a fan of Superman killing. I'm not a fan of Batman freaking like gunning people down. Not a fan.
Right.
But I'm even more not of a fan of being like, well, here's our plan, but guess what? You know what I mean? Like we're gonna jack up our own shit to try to get to this. It's like nobody's happy with that.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel about it.
I think a big thing is like navigating those like you're saying, like all those things in a sensical way. In the fact that like you say, instead of being so reactionary, just be willing to make changes when you need to. Like you have your plan, and as you're going along, as things are developing, if you need to change them, you can change minor things. It's kind of like the MCU, like I was thinking about this just yesterday, as a matter of fact, because we're talking about the MCU going forward and the mutants coming into the MCU and everybody saying like, oh, well, Feige said that, they've got the next 5 years planned and all this stuff. It's like, well, yeah, that's all fine and dandy. They had it planned, but we can see even with like the Falcon and Winter Soldier, the next series we're going to be getting on Disney Plus, the first one, they've already changed. They've already diverted from what they were originally doing without completely changing everything. And it makes me kind of wonder, along with that, just the same kind of things like he said we weren't originally going to get mutants for the next 5 years. They have the next 5 years planned, but we can see just from the rumors we've heard, everything going on right now, I have a feeling they're coming even sooner. I have a feeling they've got a lot of things going on behind the scenes because they have a plan and they're willing to change the plan a little bit as they're going along, and they leave themselves open to being able to change that, where it seems like DC kind of almost does exactly what the Star Wars seems to do is we've got a plan, we'll nail it down, something happens, and then it's like, okay, take the plan, scrap it, let's take this part of this plan, we'll keep that, and then we'll just add in a whole bunch of other stuff and just mishmash it and hope it all works.
Yeah, no, I agree, dude. I agree. It's funny. And you know what? I think the sort of understated thing, or like what DC fans would bring up, is like, they're actually a lot closer than you think. Like Marvel's probably scrambling way more than we think. They're not actually that far away as far as what they're actually doing. But the difference is just the planning, the committing, and a singular vision. Like Feige just has that thing. And he has a great filter for, kind of getting stuff that doesn't fit out of the way to more than not hit instead of miss, And I also think that he was given a lot of opportunities that Zack was just simply not given. Like phase 2, there was a huge dip in quality for the MCU. There was. And he learned and adjusted. You know what I mean? And like Zack and, you know, a lot of the producers at the time, they were not given that same chance. You know,
Right.
like they just weren't. So there is a lot of nuance to the point, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's just like, look, it's so obvious what the problem is over at DC, and they need to get ahead of that, or it's just going to be the same old shit. You know, ultimately, is what I think.
Yeah, totally.
But I'll let you go, brother. I got you all the way to 11, so I'll let you go so that you can get started on your stream, and then we'll kind of just keep taking Q&A for the next 10 minutes. All right, man. I'll see you soon.
All right, man. You all have a good one. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, brother. Peace out.
Later.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are tonight's entertainment. I have only one question. Where's Harvey Dent? Name that movie. Name that movie. Stormbreaker, I saw you in chat talking about this. A crazy scoop about Wonder Man being in WandaVision. Woo! That sounds dope. Sounds like we got to do a video about that. Dark Knight, baby. Amen, dude. You know what? I should take this moment too while we've got all these beautiful people in here. Let me take this moment. Tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it is time for the second matchup in the Nerd Card Showdown. And tonight we have the Fantastic Four versus the Ultimate Nullifiers, guys. It's going to be pretty hyped. I would love it. I would appreciate it. I would be forever grateful if you, current watcher of this stream, came on back to this exact same channel tonight at 8 p.m. and watched the second matchup in the Nerd Card Showdown. It's going to be very dope, so I hope to see you there. Also, the Den of Nerds After Dark, Lavis, Ken Cologne, Tara Zahn, possibly even Dave, executive producer Dave, are working on a great show that I think you guys are going to love, especially if you watch my takes and you're like, man, this dude don't know what he's talking about. If you've ever leaned that way when I give a take, first of all, you're wrong. Second of all, you're going to love the Den of Nerds After Dark, a show in which the folks here are going to be running a more, I don't know what to call it, maybe adult-oriented, put the kids to bed, don't, this is going to be a little bit more mature. That show is going to be going on Thursday nights. And we're working hard behind the scenes to get that show up and running for you guys. I think you guys are going to love that show and love that content. But again, you're still wrong. Let's see here. Renee asks, why doesn't Sony let Marvel borrow Miles Morales and keep Peter Parker for their movies? It gives Marvel another popular character of diversity. Hey, look, man, that's a great question. I love the Miles Morales character. I think Miles Morales is an awesome character. But the simple fact is, it's money. It's just money. So when Sony acquired the Spider-Man licensing rights in the 90s, oh, fuck, sorry, guys. Music's super loud. My bad on that one. Thanks, Adam, for pointing that out. Gotcha. Thanks, Stormbreaker. No worries, brother. We're trying to, trust me, I've had so many meetings this week. I almost didn't even put a video out yesterday. What time are you guys thinking for Thursday nights? I think it's going to be kind of late because they do the watch parties. Thursday nights as well. Lavis can speak to that a little bit better than I can. No, I got you. Stormbreaker. I know I'm behind on the website, man. I know. But we are going to get it there. Oh, and you know what? I want to mention this, too. I feel like I'm all over the place right now. I apologize. This isn't structured at all. If you're a Patreon supporter, look out sometime today for a little Patreon live stream, impromptu. I'm going to pop into the Patreon later and just chat with you guys. Basically, we're going to do a dry run of Den of Nerds After Dark, and we're going to do one tomorrow night at 10 p.m., next Thursday night at 10 p.m., possibly even another Thursday after that, and then maybe by week 4, we will launch the show officially. So if you are a member of our Patreon, look out for a stream today, and look out, and I hope you can come by tomorrow night at 10 to check out the dry run for the Den of Nerds After Dark. Come on by for that if you can. That's a good idea, Lavis. We could do that. We can get some feedback. If you could pick anyone to be the Kevin Feige of DC, who and why? Can I attend? Absolutely, Stormbreaker. I'll get you the link, bro. You know what? Honestly, I would say either Greg Berlanti or Bruce Timm. Bruce Timm. Now, Bruce Timm is obviously like an animated guy, you know. But you know what? Honestly, this is what I really think DC should do. This is really what I think they should do. Is Den of Nerds After Dark a 2-drink minimum? Dude, you have no idea. Once we start, and by the way, I have this, Sly, if you're still in here, man, I had a good meeting with these guys yesterday, and I can't wait to talk to you on Thursday because I've got some really interesting visual ideas that they want to bring to the table, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it. Cool. Berlanti all the way, says Alexander Carfelt. So, Alex, I think you and I are on the same page. I love the CW stuff, but I do think that it's fallen off in quality. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but my thing is I think that CW shows have fallen off in quality. But I still think Greg Berlanti, just what he did with that universe is so ridiculously good. And he was interfered with a lot. You want to talk about studio interference? They made that dude gut his Suicide Squad so that they could give David Ayer his Suicide Squad, and then they gutted David Ayer's Suicide Squad. Ridiculous. But yeah, Greg Berlanti I think would be great. But here's what I think they should really do. Here's what I think they should really do. Get Patty Jenkins, Zack Snyder, James Wan, get those guys in a room together and have them craft the future of DC. Maybe JJ too, you know? I mean, look, they just paid JJ $500 million. You got to use JJ as a brand. You know what I mean? So maybe it's JJ, maybe it's JJ, Patty, Zach, James Wan, get a brain trust together. I don't know if a lot of people know this or not. Zach got story credit on Wonder Woman. He has story credit on Wonder Woman. You know what I mean? That it's just the relationship between Patty Jenkins and Zack Snyder is really, really good. And I watched Wonder Woman again recently, and man, is that such a good movie. Dude, Wonder Woman is an incredible movie. It's incredible. Even with the crazy third act. Patty came out and said she's not into a shared universe, though. Well, look, maybe she's not, but maybe there's a lot of reasons as to why she's not. And to be honest with you, if I had the bosses that she had while trying to create a shared universe, maybe I wouldn't be into a shared universe either. You know what I mean? In the video we did yesterday, there are comments from Matt Reeves that, like, by the way, guys, and I don't know what to believe here, but my honest feeling is that the Batman is a completely separate thing. It is not connected to an extended universe whatsoever. I put comments from Matt Reeves in the video yesterday from way back in the day that when he was first approached with the project, he said it's a solo thing. It is not connected to the extended universe. His words. And then how did he refute that? He refuted it by coming out on Twitter and saying, of course, Batman is in the same universe as all these other characters, just like in the comics, DC films. He doesn't say DCEU. He uses extended universe when he says that it's not connected to it. He refuses to use the verbiage extended universe when he says it is connected. See where I'm going with that? See what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? When do you think Flashpoint is coming out? Whew, man, they've got a whole situation to figure out there. They've got a whole... I don't envy any of those people over at Warner Brothers right now, dude. Are you kidding me? Like, they haven't even addressed the Ezra Miller thing. They haven't even addressed the Ezra Miller thing. Adam says, I hope that's not your selling point for tomorrow morning. I mean, I'll hit you up later. We can talk about it. But I don't want to give away my juice, man. I can't give away my thing. I can't give that away to you. That does not inherently make it a bad thing, Adam, if that's what you're asking. We need a new Flash. Ezra sucks. Dude. Grant Gustin. Just do it. Just make Grant Gustin the Flash of the DCEU. Just do it. I don't even care. Keep your cards close to the vest. Respect. Believe that. I'll keep my magic cards close to the vest. You see these magic cards? Wait, this isn't 10 Nerds After Dark. Get that out of here. You know what, too? Crazy random point, and just because I'm apparently ADD as fuck today, check this out. You see this shirt? I bought this shirt. Ooh, Alex, I heard you got G-Lo in I heard you got him in the Magic yesterday, man. I heard your mutate deck's pretty sick, bro. This image here, I bought this shirt just thinking this is a dope-ass image. Do you guys realize, are you watching the Mando documentary? Do you realize the significance of this image? Who realizes the significance of this image? Anybody? Nice. Good for you, bro. Anybody realize the significance of this image? Rohan Sharma says, I do. What's the significance, guys? What's the significance? I want to know. I'm checking your nerd card right now, and you don't even realize. They also probably haven't addressed Ezra Miller because they need him for Fantastic Beasts 3. Yeah. React says, first time they realized what Baby Yoda should look like. Lucas says, hey, Josh, I killed my interview yesterday. Thanks for the support. Awesome, dude. Awesome. Good for you, my friend. Republic Baby Yoda. That's what they used. Yeah. So the significance of this image is this was the first piece of concept art that actually was like, it was like a eureka moment for Favreau and Filoni, where they were like, that's it. That's Baby Yoda. That's what the child should look like. So just crazy. I had no idea when I bought this. And then you see the documentary, and they're like, this was the concept art that made Baby Yoda what Baby Yoda is. That's crazy. And by the way, there's some ugly ass takes on Baby Yoda. Yeah, have you seen the version of this, but like it's like the fat face Baby Yoda? That shit was hilarious. Sorry, I'm Salute, and I haven't been here in forever. Dude, Micah, don't worry about it, brother. Don't worry about it, man. Happy to have you. And I owe you some emails anyway. I'm behind on that. The chubby Baby Yoda looks like my biggest nightmare. Yeah, it does. It's pretty ugly. Yeah, that's movie magic for you. Amen. Let's see. Let's just check and see if Trinity's stream is up. And we'll head on over there. So I've been trying to get let me tell you this. It's story time. It's ADD story time with your boy Josh today. So I tried to get my hair cut. Ooh, he's up. All right, cool. Let's send people over there. Last bit of story time, guys. And then everybody's got to jump over to Trinity's stream. Here's the link right here. I'll see you guys over there, okay? Now, look. I tried to get my hair cut this week. Every place that I've tried to get my hair cut is so swamped. Actually, a lot of people from yesterday, they just shut down yesterday. Everything's so crazy They had to shut down. They're not ready for all the masses of people that are coming out to get haircuts. It's wild. But hopefully we can figure that out. Okay. Here you go. Bada boom, bada bing. Get on over to Trinity's stream, everybody. Get on over to Trinity's stream. I'll see you guys over there, okay? As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I will see you in the next video.